All right, let's get back to work here. We're gonna do assignment number 1. Let's see how far we get through it. Actually, we might actually do the whole thing, and that'll be your bonus for not sleeping. So I know a lot of people just flew in or something. So yeah. Now the assignment is downloadable from the Canvas website. You're looking at it right now. You don't necessarily need to download it, but if you do want to follow along, whatever we do in class, I don't know what that is. I think it's the aircon system. Whatever we do in class, you can turn in. You can turn in exactly what we're doing. What's wrong? Oh.
No, I mean the noise. Did you hear the noise?
I do hear the noise. What noise? I don't hear a noise. What noise are you talking about? Is the noise talking to you? I don't know how to stop the noise. Seriously, I don't know what to do with the noise. I'm not causing the noise. All right, let's get back to entity relationship modeling, which is what we really want to do here. If you read through the tutorial, it's about 30 pages, a little introduction in here, entity types. It's this whole lecture I just went over. We already covered this stuff. Entity types, attributes, entities, relationships, attributes. Remember primary keys? Not so long ago, talked about those. This is a lot of reading. If you have difficulty understanding the lecture I just went through, can't follow along with the PowerPoint, you really want a lot more information, read this. Don't read this otherwise. And what is this? Ways of thinking about entities. I'm just going to skip to the bottom. This is, I think, higher level. This is more complicated reading, actually. Cardinality explained, optionality explained. It's a textbook. All right, let me just get right down to it back here. I have to scroll way down to the bottom. Assignment, complete all 4 parts as described below. So I'm going to read through, there's 4 parts. I'm going to read the first one. We're going to do as many as we can. Maybe all of them. We'll see how fast we get through it. Feel free to slow me down if I go too fast. The instructions are all the same for all 4. The first one says, identify all entity types, attributes, relationship types, and their degree in the following case. That means, is it many or is it one? Hence, draw an entity relationship diagram. And that's number 1, it's about cars. And the second one does the same thing. It says, at the bottom, it says, draw an entity relationship diagram for this example. Show both cardinality and optionality. That one's a little different. That's both sides. Cardinality and optionality. And put a question mark where the degree is not clear from the text. I'll show you how to put that in here in a minute. And don't assume anything, rather write a list of questions that you'd find answers to in order to complete the model. That's number 2. Number 2, you can't really complete most of the model. That's why we're going to do number 1 first so you can see what we're doing. And number 3 is about mortgages, and it says draw an entity relationship diagram and produce a list of questions that you'd have to ask in order to complete the model. Because that one's not going to be complete either. Number 4 you can actually do. It says draw an entity relationship model stating any assumptions made. So number 1 and number 4 work perfectly fine. Number 2 and number 3 are missing some pieces of information. We're going to see how that works. If I give you all the information at all times, then it wouldn't be very realistic. Because how many times does a customer, in real life, how many times does a customer come over to a consultant and say, hey, I need a database, and this is exactly what I need. And here's what I need in it. Never. It never happens. Instead, there's this back and forth negotiation with, no, what do you need? Are you sure you need that? Why do you need that? Don't you think you need this too? And you go back and forth with questions and answers to see what in the world do you guys want? So you can figure it out. All right, so I already read the first sentence of number 1, so let me read on. An organization makes many models of cars, where the model is characterized by a name and a prefix, okay, such as GLXL, which indicates the degree of luxury, and an engine size. Huh? Say that one more time. Week 4? Yeah. Oh, V6. Yes, yes. I'm sorry. You were thinking about dream cars. I can name it such as well. Okay, this would be like the E class, the C class, the M class, V6, V4. Yeah. Engine types. Each model is made up of many parts, and each part is used by many manufacturers. You could take the approach of reading the whole thing, or you can just dive in. I'm just going to dive in. I've read the first paragraph. I feel like I've read enough. So I'm going to start diving in. Because it doesn't really matter how you read it. You're going to read it multiple times. So it depends on whether or not you want to read the whole thing. You want to read it again? Let's see. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is let's just make sure I'm here actually. New ER diagram. So I'm up at the new ER diagram. You can do the same thing, and I'm going to do number 1 with you. And you can turn this in as is as number 1. You can actually put them all in the same canvas, or all in the same, I think they actually call it a canvas. Canvas, they do call it a canvas. All in the same canvas where you can have different ones. So I'm going to label it by putting a label up at the top here, ready? And my label is going to say cars. How about 1: cars? Oops. Just so I know which one I've done. And I have said new ER diagram, have I? Yes, I have, because I want the entity, the attribute, and relationships up here. This is the one we're doing for the first assignment. For the second assignment, you'll be doing the new relational schema. We'll do the first part of the second one before you leave, but I'm going to leave that one for you to do on your own for the most part. So number 1 is cars. All right, so let me go back to my textual description. An organization makes many models of cars. You could take the approach of nouns and say, well, aren't these cars the object or the entity? It's a pretty obvious kind of conclusion that I'm going to come up to, that I'm dealing with cars and models of cars. So I'm going to make an entity. My first entity, I'm going to call it cars. I'm going to put the word car here. Car. And I'm going to drag it here a little bit because I want to make my diagram beautiful. I've made it so far. And it's going to be a regular entity. I don't really have to do anything to it. I'm going to go back to my description real quick. Kind of see where I've taken off. Oops, here it is. There's a model. It's characterized by a name and a suffix. Name and suffix. And then I have an example here, such as GL XL, which indicates the degree of luxury. You don't want to put GL and XL. This is in here on purpose to confuse you. You don't want to put GL and XL. You really are looking at a name and a suffix. But it's really a model. So you could put model that would hold a name and a suffix, or it could be model slash name, model slash suffix. But you're looking at 2 pieces of information that are associated with a model. So I'm going to be creative. I'm going to actually do it this way. I'm going to say, I'm going to add an attribute because that's what I'm adding right now. Oops, and my attribute fell off the screen. I can call this one a model, maybe. I can add more attributes if I want, and it's okay to do that. I'm going to say a suffix, or name. And suffix. I'm going to put them this way a little bit. Hey, did I lose anyone so far? That's the first paragraph. That's what we're doing. So the first paragraph. Huh? Oh, I haven't gotten there yet. Oh yeah, I forgot. I'm sorry. Engine size. You're right. Need to add one more. Engine size. I could call it size, or I could call it engine size. Engine size. Oops. Engine size. Now, I'm going to do something else here, though. So this is one way I did it, right? But really, name and suffix are part of model. So I could click on car. I'm going to make another one here for a second. Here, I'm going to go add. I could say, I'm going to just go and call this mod because I have a model. And if I did a multi-valued one, I'd have multiple tables. If I did a composite, I'd add another one to it. And the composite I'm going to add to it would be, I'm going to move this down so you can see it in a few minutes, suffix. And then add another composite model, which is going to be, what was that one called again? Name, maybe? Let's see. Let's move this down so you can see what we're looking at now. Mod's got these two next to it. Here, we'll put them over here. This is a composite attribute that has the model that has a name and a suffix. What I'm trying to do is demonstrate that these three are equivalent to these three. This one is a composite. Remember the composite attributes. It holds more than one. And remember the derived one? It's the birth date from date of birth. So multi-value would hold more than one. Doesn't really, this is more of a composite. The concept of the model, in fact, I can change this one, call this one model. Model? Is that how you spell model? That's how you spell model. Model. And then I don't necessarily need this one. I can delete this one, actually. Oops. I could just have the suffix and the name for the model and then the engine size. And that's what this description is telling me. An organization makes cars. Actually, here, let me resize this so I can have them both. Oops. How do I get this to, I'll just do like that with it. A model is characterized by a name and a suffix, such as GL and XL, which indicates the degree of luxury. So an instance of this car might be model S class, or actually I have an SLK. So model S suffix or S class or convertible SLK name. Well, it's a 230 number. So it's a combination of a bunch of things. It's okay right now if you just put model, or if you just put model, name, and suffix. But if the model really incorporates the suffix in the name, like SLK230 or something, or I don't know, I think the BMWs have like M series and then M3 or something, or M5, where you have two numbers together. Like this is the M series, and this is the S series, and this is the L series, or the SL series. And then you have the 100, 200, 300, 400. For the Mercedes, it's the size of the engine. It's the 550 is the big one, and the 230 is the small one. And they use the name for the engine size. And then this is it a E, an S, a C, and that's really part of the model, incorporated in the model. So now hopefully everybody will go out and buy a Mercedes. I'm just kidding. You guys are students. I don't think you're buying Mercedes. Who knows? Actually, a lot of our students drive BMWs for some reason. BMW is popular for some reason. I don't know why. Huh? They're nice. BMW is not expensive. Used one's not expensive, you're right. We could really go on with cars. Let's go back to this car model, this car thing. So does everybody get this paragraph and how it turns into this? That's the entire paragraph, by the way. And that's what we're doing. We're modeling, putting words into a model. Okay, so let's go back. Try another paragraph. Let's tackle this next paragraph. Luckily for us, there's only 2 paragraphs in this first one. Each model is made up from many parts, and each part may be used in the manufacture of more than one model. Alright, here's the weird part. It's talking about a model, which is an attribute of a car. Is it really the model, or is it really the car that's made up of multiple parts? I think it's the car. Yeah, car is a model, but it has multiple parts. But really, we're looking at another entity, and I'm going to call the entity parts. Entity? Parts. So So I'm going to put my parts like here. And cars are made out of parts. I could, oops, I clicked on the relationship. I could click on the relationship, or I could click here and click on the connect and connect the parts with the cars and get a relationship. Depends on how you want to do it with this tool set. I'll do it the manual way. I'm just going to put the relationship here, and then I'm going to click on the relationship, and then I'm going to connect it with entity 1, which is car, and entity 2, which is parts. Either way, you can still change the participation and the cardinality. So, it says relationship. You can change that and say made of, or composes of. How about made of? Made of. Cars are made out of parts. And I would say many parts. So cars contain many parts. So over here on the cardinality, I'm going to say that cars contain many parts, and that many parts belong to many cars. Is that what it says? Let's see. It says that each model is made up from many parts, and that each part may be used in the manufacture of more than one model. I would say that's a many. So now I have a many-to-many on parts made of, cars are made of parts. You could say manufacture, maybe that's a better way of saying it. I just dropped my mouse. Manufacture. Manufacture. I like this mouse because I don't like this trackpad thing. But then I wasn't thinking that the mice would actually have to be balanced on the podium, but anyway. We got one sentence down, this one right here. And that gave us this manufactured course. So cars are manufactured with parts and many cars. Each part has a description and an ID code. Right, that's a no-brainer. What are those? Starts with an A. Attributes. Parts have a description and an ID code. Alright, so parts, I'm going to add some attributes to it. As a description. And description, it's not any of those things. It's really just a, and it has an ID code. It doesn't really matter what you call it. Could call it a ID code. Lose anyone? Okay. Each model of car is produced at one of the firm's factories, which are located in London, Birmingham, Bristol, and Manchester. Looks like it's located in England. One in each city. This is a trick. Do not fall for this trick. The trick is it wants you to put in one for each city when it's really an attribute. So the question here is, what's the attribute? Is it multi-valued? Probably not. These are instances, entity instances or entity occurrences. So each model of car is produced in just one of the firm's factories. I could take it up to this first comma, fine. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to add an entity to this one. I'm going to stick it right here. I'm going to call this one factory. And the cars are made in the factory. So I'm going to connect by pressing on connect factory with cars. And now I've created this relationship. And I'm going to call the relationship made. Actually, it's another manufacturer. Manufacturer. Cars made in a factory. Let's see. It looked like there was many factories. Each part has a description. Each model of car is produced at just one of the firm's factories. So each model of car is produced at just one. So the factory is just one car is produced at one. Actually, many cars are produced at one factory. Or is it? Let's see. Each model of car is produced at just one of the firm's factories. Oh, but look down here. A factory produces many models of cars. So it does go many on the cars. I had to read ahead to get that part. We would have to go back and change it. So I'm going to leave this one alone. So cars, all the cars are only made at one factory. And the factories make many different models of cars. So I have a crow's feet over here. So I have a many on the factories produce many types of cars. But each car is only produced at one factory. So it looks like that. The second part of the sentence is the tricky part. It's telling me where the factories are located. So isn't that really a location? Yeah. So there's a group of people that would do this. They would go London factory, Birmingham factory, Bristol factory, Manchester factory. Because you have one in each city. You could do it two ways. You could add an attribute here that would be city. And assume that, oops, wrong. I changed the relationship. Oh, no, I didn't. Here it is. City. So that it's produced in a factory and the factory is a city. One of those 3 or 4 that were listed off. Or there's another group of people that would do this. Entity. Go down here. Entity. 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 And instead of having the one factory, you have, I'm going to call them factory LBB, LBR, and M. And so this would be factory. I shortchanged the description by just making characters instead of writing out the names of the cities. And then you would do this one here. You would actually take and I'm gonna remove this one for a second. Actually, I'm just gonna move it over here. Oops, I really moved that attribute over. This is plan A, simpler. You have the car that's manufactured at a factory, and then you're keeping a city for the factory. That way you can have more than... What happens if you add a new factory location? If you have a separate identity for each one of the factories, then you'd have to connect them this way. Oops. Move them over a little bit. One, two, three, 4 factories. Isn't this a little bit simpler, though? They're both doing the same thing technically. They're both correct. But I can just get... Then this one I can actually expand this more and add another city if I want without adding another table to the database. So here I could be like city... I don't know what else we can keep about the factory. We might add... I don't know. Manager name. Manager address or something, I don't know. And then I don't necessarily need this here. So I'm going to pull this out because I don't like this in here. Not to say that it's wrong. It's not really wrong. It's just eventually I probably could consolidate that down into just this. And it's a little easier. wish I didn't have to move things like around. There we go. For me, I have to get my lines straight. Let's see. Did we all understand that? Okay, good. Excellent. So let's go on to the next one, where we've got a factory produces many models of cars and many types of parts, which each type of part is produced at one factory only. So a factory produces many models of cars. We did that one here. One factory produces many cars, models of cars. But now we have the parts that are also produced at the factory. So the parts here, many types of parts. So a factory produces many models of car and many types of parts, although each type of part is produced at one factory only. So parts are produced at factory. So I can connect parts with factory. And then really only one factory, it says. Each type of part is produced at one factory only. So in here, I'm going to say this is produces. Parts are produced at factories, or factories produce parts. And each factory produces only one. No, the type of part is produced at one factory only. So parts, one factory. No, many parts, but one factory. One factory. And cars are produced at one factory, and many parts are produced at just one factory. Now, a lot of people go, well, okay, we could do it like that. I don't know how we had it before. Like that. How you want this thing to look is your choice. Put it up like that. Put it down like this. Where you move the stuff to is your choice. But that's the answer to the first question, by the way. Yeah. Where do you see organization? If you did, it wouldn't be wrong. If you think, when I read it, I was sort of assuming that this was the database we were building for the organization. If you want to be explicit, you could do this. This is not wrong. Isn't it the organization? So you could add that in here too. You could say organization. You know, sometimes you might not know what the organization is. Maybe you're the government and you want an organization to produce the cars. And if that's the case, you'd go organization, and then I'd connect organization to cars. And is it that the organization produces, so this relationship would be produces or makes, produces, maybe. And it produces cars, and let's take a look at the cardinality. Let's fill that in. An organization makes many models of cars. So one organization makes, or actually is it many organizations? It's probably just one organization, but it makes many cars, and it's one organization. So I have the one over here, and I have the many cars over here. Now I think we're a little bit more complete. We don't necessarily need to put that in, but it's okay. It depends on how you're going to make assumptions. But we got this far, then we've made progress for the first day of the database class. I'm going to save this one. Before I save it, though, I'm going to clear out what's in my downloads folder. Because I can't, I did it already, did I? I cleared it out already, that's good. Alright. Because is, I don't know how to save it with a name. It's a free tool. Save diagram. There we go. How do we clear this here? Clear all. There we go. So I saved it, so it should be in the downloads folder. Yep, here it is here. Now I would just, if I were doing this, I'd do here. I'd do this, and I'd say 1. There's 4 of these suckers total. So I labeled this one 1. And if I open it, I should find 1. And 1 looks like 1. Alright. If you want, you can take it and export it to a PNG. That's fine. Or just leave it. So let's go on to number 2. I'm not going to do all of them for you. And when you do it, you might not look at it and go, I don't know if this is right or wrong. Don't worry about next week. We're going to, next week, but the week after, you get another. You don't have to go to class next week. You have a break. We all get to take a weekend off in between because we're going to need it to recuperate. And then when we come back in 2 weeks, then you can take a look at it and compare it. All you have to do is do it. All you have to do is upload those 4 diagrams into Canvas. You can put 4 of them all into one assignment submission. You can zip them together. You can put them in separately. You can put them all on the same piece of canvas. Just make the canvas bigger if you want. But if you turn it in, you'll get full credit for it. And then we're going to go over it in class, and you'll see where you made mistakes or where you could have improved it or something. So number 2, university. So number 2, there's not very much. We're going to do number 2 actually because there's not very much you can do with this. A university consists of several faculties. Is that a typo? That's the first thing I'm looking at. No. My brain says that's a typo. Okay, see you next time. That's a typo. But then it says on the next one, it says within each faculty, there are several departments. Okay, so maybe it wasn't a typo. We're talking about faculties. First question I have is what in the world is a faculty? But okay, maybe it's supposed to be a facility. Each department may run a number of courses. So I can get that part. Departments have courses. All teaching staff is attached to departments. Okay, so the teachers work in departments, but each staff member belongs to a unique department. Okay, only 1 staff member per 1 department. Now, see how many meanings you can be assigned to this ambiguous sentence. Yeah, it's ambiguous so far. Every course is composed of subcourses. And that comment was actually for the next sentence. What in the world is a subcourse? Okay. Some subcourses are part of more than 1 course. Okay. I can kind of get that one. This kind of sounds like a derived or a composite course of some sort. And then staff may teach on many subcourses, and each subcourse may be taught by a member of the staff. By a number of staff. So you have more than people teaching the staff. So draw an entity relationship model for this example. Show both cardinality and optionality. I'll look at that. We're going to draw this one. And then put a question mark where the degree is uncertain from the text. And then assume anything. Don't assume anything rather than write a list of questions that you have to ask in order to complete this thing. Now, right from the get-go, the first one, if I'm not going to assume anything, I can't do anything about faculties. I have no idea what a faculty is. Huh? That's a good idea. I mean, that's a good question. Was that supposed to be facilities? Or is it supposed to be faculties? But it says don't assume anything. Don't assume anything. Rather, write a list of questions. So I'm going to start out with my notes. So I'm going to put a label here. And the label is going to say number 2, university. Because I want to label this one here as answer number 2. And then I'm going to start it with another label up here. And going to say list of questions. Question number 1, what is a faculty? That's a good one. I'm going to make this one a little bit bigger so it kind of goes up this way and pull it down a little bit. What's a faculty? That's a good one. So now I'm past the first sentence. Because you don't have to put it in the diagram if you don't understand what it is. And I seriously don't know what this is. So, university consists of several faculties. Well, what's a faculty? Within each faculty, there are several departments. I know there's a department. I don't know what a faculty is. So I'm going to make a huge assumption here, although it says don't make any assumptions. But I'm going to say that there's probably a department. I can probably understand what a department is, so I'm going to put a department out here. So I'm going to go with this department concept. And each department may run a number of courses. Okay, so we have classes that belong to departments. So I'm going to move departments over here a little bit. I'm going to put classes over here. Classes, and I'm going to connect it this way. That classes belong, I'm going to put belong in here. Classes belong to departments. That's pretty good. Everybody with me so far? Excellent. Each department may run a number of courses. Each department may run a number of courses. There's many courses for each department. Are there many departments? Let's see. We don't know. No, there's several departments. Within each faculty, there are several departments. And each department can run a number of courses, but can courses belong to multiple departments? That's a good question. So, can courses belong to multiple departments? That's a good one. I have no idea. And I might find I have to move this down here maybe because this is going to grow a little bit longer. So rather than putting it in and making an assumption, you're going to make a list of things that aren't clear. Because you're going to do this one for the third one on your own. And the fourth one is going to be like the first one. It works. If the fourth one works, the next one doesn't work either. This is number 2. Okay, so each department may run a number of courses. Okay, all teaching staff, well, that's teacher. I'm going to make that wild assumption. The teaching staff are teachers. Is attached to departments. All teaching staff is attached to departments. But each staff member belongs to a unique department. Oh, I got that one. All right, so this is a good one. So departments and entity. This is going to be teachers. Did it say teachers or teaching staff? Each staff member. All teaching staff is attached to departments. Each staff member belongs to a unique department. You could ask the question, the staff members, are you talking about the teachers? You could probably assume that. It's half a dozen or another. If you wanted to, you could add that to your list of assumptions. I'm not going to. Instead, I'm going to say that the teachers over here, that they teach in departments. And this is belongs to, or what is this? I think it's belongs. Each staff member belonging to a unique department. So there's many departments, it sounds like. And each staff member belongs to a unique department. So this is a one-to-one then. This is a one-to-one here. Each teacher belongs to a department. It's really staff members though, not teachers. I could call it staff. I could actually put staff member in here if I wanted to. I'm trying not to make any assumptions though, but in the meantime I'm making assumptions. Because this is a very convoluted example. Alright. Each course is composed of subcourses. Where's my classes? Here's my class. I don't really know what a subclass is. But I'm going to say that there's a class that's a subclass. This could go two ways. This class could have a relationship with itself. Is a subclass a class? Yikes. I could do this if I wanted to. And then I could do class with a class. And then I can ask myself, well, I'm making an assumption when I do that. I could say number 3 is a subclass, a class itself. Could be. Or I could pull this out and put another entity in here and call this a subclass. And then I can say that, where's my connection? Here's my connection. That classes contain subclasses. That works. That part I'm not making any assumptions. Or am I? No, this is clearly saying that every course is composed of subcourses. Well, that means there's more than one subcourse. So then, in this relationship here, the subcourses is a many. And that each course, each class is a one. It's composed of many subcourses. And then I wrote that assumption in there. Well, what is a subclass? A class itself. If it is, it's a recursive relationship. If it's not, then it's a subclass. You want to keep the subclasses separately from the class. But I can actually add another question here. What's a subclass? I have no idea what a subclass is. Yeah? Okay. One staff belongs to one department. Let's take a look here. Each staff belongs to a unique department. But then departments should have more than one staff member in there, shouldn't they? All teaching staff is attached to departments. That's what I was wondering. Are the teaching staff different from the attached? See, all teaching staff is attached to departments is plural. So do teachers belong to multiple departments, but each staff member only belongs to one unique department? The two sentences are contradicting each other. One of them says that teaching staff belongs to departments, multiple departments, but are the teachers in multiple departments? Or, like, if I'm a teacher, can I be in, like, that department and that department? Or is it one unique department? Unique department. See, that's a question of, the sentence itself is made to be ambiguous that way, but you're right. That's the way I read it initially. So is a staff member belonging to a unique department? So staff belongs to a department. but many staff belong to many different departments. There's a contradiction in the way that the diagram is created. You got to decide one or the other.
So can I do like staff belongs to different departments, like both use multiple relations, many to many?
You could do that. And that's one of the assumptions that you'd be making. So then you put here, is it number 5? Is it multiple staff with multiple departments? Or is it each staff belongs to a unique department? You can't use both of them in the same diagram. You got to decide if you're going to go one-to-one or many-to-many or one-to-many. The cardinality is obscure with those two sentences. So the diagram, you can't make the diagram you can make the diagram one way or the other, because your other choice is this. You go like this. And some people actually do this, and they ask the customer. Because imagine this is what the customer is doing. The customer is telling you this information. What I really like it is when they contradict each other. They say, you know, the database needs to keep track of all the patients, and the patients can't be in there more than once. They cannot be in there more than one time. We just want to keep one file for each patient. Okay. But every time the patient comes in for a different type of service, we want them to be listed separately. You're like, well, how can we have them listed separately if you only want them in there one time? But what they're really trying to say is that we need to keep track of how many services the employee wants or the customer wants, and not put them as customer 1. It's got service A. Customer 1, it's got service B. That's what we really want instead of customer 1, service A. New entry, new customer, another instance of the same customer with another service. Long story short, it's in the wording. Because this one here could be like this. Oh, what's wrong? Am I not connected? This one is, I want to. Oops, because I don't have it connected. Entity. Department. I'm going too fast. Many.
Can I do like I put a attribute to department and attribute to the staff. Like department may have major or name, and also staff have major or name. So I don't need to do it again.
Staff.
Yeah.
Say that one more time.
I said, can I just put an attribute attach the staff or attach the department, so I don't need to do the entity of department again, entity of staff again. I can just put maybe department name, department major.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Yeah. So this and this creates two separate. This creates one table. This creates two tables. When you take the diagram and you translate it from an entity relationship to a table, if it's a one, it's important whether it's a one-to-one or one-to-many in the diagram, because this is going to create 3 tables. I'll put it in here actually. So this is 3 tables, and this one's only 2 tables up here. So you got an extra table depending upon how you're interpreting what the customer's saying. I'm going to leave it in here for illustrative purposes, but it's not really technically part of the assignment, but it's an interesting note about it. Okay, so it's going to be one or the other. put an or in here. And actually, I would put this in the diagram on my first iteration of it, and then I'd take it back to the customer and say, if this is the case, if only one staff can belong to one department, then the staff is going to have a department number. So here, this would actually have a department number. So, and then this wouldn't exist. This would go away because we wouldn't reduce that to a table. But if it's a many-to-many, as I was saying before, then this is going to keep track of the staff in the department. So then this attribute here would have staff number. Oops, wrong one. Yep, it's up here, yeah. Staff number. Here, we'll put it underneath. And then we're going to have department number. We'll do this way. And these would be part of this table. Would be a table keeping track of which staff are working at which departments. Which is a little bit of different thinking, if you think about it. If you were to take it that far. Did I lose anyone? Okay, I know it's in the afternoon at about 4 something. So. Don't worry, we're actually getting close to the end of this class. Let's see. So I think we went through this whole description actually. Each course is composed of subcourses. Some subcourses are part of more than one course. Let's go back to the courses and the subcourses. Every course is composed of subcourses. So one course is composed of subcourses. Some subcourses are part of more than one course. Okay, so we got to put a many on both sides then. More than one. Subcourses are part of more than one course. So now I have a many and a many over here. Alright. Staff may teach on many subcourses, and each subcourse may be taught by a number of staff. Alright, so here's our staff. Depending upon which one of these we're going with, let's just commit to the beginning. I'm going to move this down a little bit. Is there a select? There is a select. Let's just take this one here. Move it down. There we go. Making a little bit of room there. We want to take the subcourses and we want to connect it to the staff. And this is teaches. And we have the staff may teach any number of subcourses, and each subcourse may be taught by any number of staff. So it's many. And voila, given our lack of assumptions that we're making, that's pretty much what we have. We can possibly add the faculties in there. I don't know what the faculties are. If you added the faculties in there, it would be okay. I'm going to leave them out because I don't know what a faculty is. Several faculties. Within each faculty, there are several departments. I could do this. Got the departments, right? I could just do this if I wanted to. Faculty. And then maybe put a question mark here. I don't know what a faculty is. But a faculty appears to have, within each faculty there are several departments. So faculties, they contain departments, and it's a many. Several faculties contain many different departments. I think that's it. Each faculty. Within each faculty, there are several faculties. And within each faculty, there are several departments. And there are several faculties. So if you wanted to, that would actually be the complete diagram. With some assumptions. You could leave out this assumption here. I put a question mark next to it. Now in the description, I believe it says to put a question mark. So draw an entity relationship model for this example. Show both cardinality and optionality. Oops, I left out the optionality. If it's optional or mandatory, I'll get to that in a few minutes. Put a question mark where the degree is not clear from the text. That would be this degree here, and that's what we did here. This is where the degree wasn't equal. Instead of putting a question mark in, I put an or kind of thing. It's going to be this one or this one. This is the question mark. I could have just left this out and put a question mark if you wanted to, but that's what that means. So the mandatory versus optional participation. Forgot about that part of it. That's this part here. So if I look at this here, on this side over here it says mandatory and optional. This is what it's talking about. It's unspecified for all of my relationships so far. This one wanted you to do it. So, a university consists of several faculties. Within each faculty there are several departments. I don't know what the participation requirements are. I'm just going to leave it out. It says don't make any assumptions, right? I don't know what it is. Each part, I can add that to my list here. I can't tell the car, so this is going to be number 6. I can't tell the optional versus mandatory. Participation. For most of this. There we go, I did that part. I could probably figure out the rest of it. Let's see if I could. Each department may run a number of courses. Do they have to run courses? I don't know. All teaching staff is attached. All teaching staff is attached to departments. That seems like a mandatory thing. So I can go over to the teaching staff over here. And they belong to departments. I think it's mandatory that they belong to departments. So I'm going to put mandatory on the department side. And I'm going to take it off and then go unspecified on that. So the staff, because this is backwards. Same thing with the cardinality. So staff is mandatory that they're part of a department. So the department staff is mandatory. It's part of a department. Because it says that each staff member belongs to a unique department. And all staff members attached to departments. Each course is composed of subcourses. I don't know if that's mandatory or optional. But subcourses are part of more than one course. I don't know if that's optional. Mandatory. Staff may teach one or many courses. I don't know that one either. So now I think I'm more complete actually at this point. So this is the completed number 2. So I'm going to save this one just so I have a record of it, what I did. You can turn this in as your diagram. And after I saved it, it goes to Untitled, so I'm going to go out here to the Downloads folder. And I'm going to make this one 2. Because I spent all this time putting it together, I don't want to lose it. 2. You have 2 more to do. You have another week to do it in. Do these other 2. Mortgages is number 3. Mortgages is pretty hairy. I left you the harder ones. Mortgages is hairy. Number 4 is easy. Number 4 is straightforward. See what you can do with number 3 and number 4. And then you're done with assignment number 1. Let's take a look at assignment number 2. Unless we want a short break. It's up to you. People want a break or no? You've been sitting for... I don't know how long you've been sitting for. 10 minutes? About 10 minutes. Then I'll break this up and then I can label it assignment number 2. Okay, so I'm going to stop this one. We're going to do number 2 next.